Welcome back to a video on Read Between the Grinds. I'm very excited because I actually have a free weekend this weekend, so I'm going to use it to read, obviously, but I'm also going to film a reading vlog. I love watching reading vlogs. I think they're so comforting and cozy, and I love just watching people like go about their life while they read. I'm also excited to enjoy, you may see behind me, we were already decorated for Halloween. We always decorate right around Labor Day weekend. We are those people. So today I really just want to enjoy my mortgage, my Halloween decorations that I've already put up, turn on those lights, drink some coffee, put on an ambiance video, and I'm going to be reading The Hollow Places by T Kingfisher. If you watched our fall TBR video that came out a few weeks ago, this is one of the books on my fall TBR video. I talked a little bit about it there, but if you haven't heard me talk about T Kingfisher, that would be surprising. I talk about her all the time. She's one of my favorite authors, and I'm working my way through all of her books. This is one I haven't read yet. If you have never read her before, I can't really say enough good about her. She writes a lot of dark fantasy, a lot of horror, and there's just something about the way that she writes her characters and her plot lines and stories and worlds that are so amazing. So I actually don't really know anything about this book. She's one of my auto-buy authors. So I had bought this copy at one point, and today is going to be the day that I read it. I'm really excited. So come along with me while we do that. Yeah. About 50 pages in. This is fantastic. I'm completely obsessed with it. It is perfect for spooky season. So this is about a woman who ends up, she is divorced, gets divorced, and so she ends up moving back in with her uncle, who owns like a oddities museum kind of vibe. There's a bunch of like weird stuff in there. The kids in my neighborhood are having a great Saturday morning as well. Don't you know I'm filming? Anyway, and so she moves back in with him to help him. He's a really sweet old man, and to like get back on her feet. And while she's there, some weird things start happening. All I'm going to say is that her and the next door coffee shop employee find a hidden hallway, and it doesn't make sense to exist in the building. It's too big, and it's too, it keeps going further than where the building should be. So it's very interesting. Like I said, I'm only about 50 pages in, but I am absolutely loving this so far. Again, she's such a good writer, but one of the things that I think is so great about her books, and this is in every one of her books, regardless of whether it's fantasy, excuse me, or horror, is that it's so funny. Her characters are so funny, and the way that she writes dialogue and the inner thoughts, oh my gosh, I'm laughing out loud. So anyway, I'm really loving it so far. I am now about halfway through this book, and wow, it got so weird, but in a very good way. Weird as in super uncanny, super off-putting, honestly a little stressful. I'm not going to, I hate spoilers, so I'm not going to talk about the plot much at all. I'm just going to say that things got very, very strange. Um, and it's a very T Kingfisher way for things to get strange. If you have read The Twisted Ones or any of her other books, you know that she just has such a unique way of telling stories and creating um, monsters and villains and the uncanny. So anyway, this is definitely her most uncanny book, at least of the ones that I've read so far. And as we're about halfway through, I just have a couple of, or I'm about halfway through. You guys aren't. Well, maybe you are. Um, I have a couple things to say, and one is the characters. And I've said this before about T Kingfisher. Her characters are always just fantastic. Our main character, Kara, and then Simon, who is kind of the wacky sidekick. There's always a wacky sidekick in her books, and I love that. They are so much fun. They're genuinely so funny. Some of Kara's like inner dialogue that's going on, I have laughed out loud. Some of the dialogue between her and Simon, I have laughed out loud. It's just been fantastic. I always feel like T Kingfisher's main character is kind of like I feel like it's me if I was in a horror movie or novel or whatever, because you know, when you see something weird in real life, I feel like, at least I do this. My first thought isn't, oh my God, it's a ghost, it's a monster. My first thought is, oh, my brain is doing something weird, and it imagines something there, because that's what brains do. And I feel like that is so often her characters. Like, they're just so relatable. I can see myself so much in them, and they're so funny, and they're so just like likable. Like, I'm so rooting for them. I mean, of course, you're always rooting for the main character in a horror novel, or at least usually you are if they're not a horrible person. But these characters are so likable, and you so want them to be okay. And what's interesting about this book, and it's not really the same in some of her other books, is that it's pretty tense for a while. So I am at a part now where some of the tenseness has kind of dropped off a little bit, and we have a moment's reprieve, but we're only halfway through, so I know that something else is going to happen. So I will check back in probably when I finish. Okay, I have officially finished The Hollow Places by T Kingfisher. This was fantastic. This was an immediate 5 stars. I have already rated it on Goodreads. I feel like, I don't know, The Twisted Ones is still probably my favorite, but man, this is up there. If you love horror, you're gonna love it. But even if you don't like horror, there's definitely some very upsetting imagery, we'll just say, that is described in this book. And there's some very light body horror. Definitely not anything close to some of the crazy stuff that I've read in the past. So you're okay. I think if you're just getting into horror, T Kingfisher is a great place to start, because her books are very spooky, very atmospheric, but they aren't like disturbing usually, or like extremely upsetting. There's always like scary imagery, which is great. That's what you want out of a horror novel, right? But this is just, man, this is cool. I am just going to say a little tiny bit about the plot in case I haven't already sold you on it. But again, I hate spoilers, so I will be very vague. I already kind of mentioned what happens in the beginning. You know, she's taking care of her uncle's Wonder Museum. And so there's all kinds of really crazy things in this museum. And that alone is such a good setup for a horror novel, because you're like, okay, this like taxidermied, you know, random thing, that's so creepy already. And that there's like 8 rooms packed full of all these creepy, weird things, weird dolls, you know, all these kinds of just completely random things. So you already have this feeling of unease, like when she's in the museum, and then when they find this space that doesn't make sense in their like current universe. I'm just going to say it that way, because I don't want to give too much away. Their current reality. Let's put it that way. They find this, and it pretty much very quickly sends them on a very interesting journey. So this book starts fast, and it's not super long, a little over 300 pages, which is, I think, a perfect length for a horror. And I'm gonna close this out by reading the quote on the back from Stephen Graham Jones, who wrote many famous horror books, including The Only Good Indians. He said, "Can horror even be this rollicking, this fun, while still delivering on the creepiness, the dread, the ick? In Kingfisher's hands, it can." And I feel like that is a perfect way to describe this book and some of her others. So thank you guys for joining me on my reading vlog journey. This is the first time I've ever vlogged reading a book, and it was a lot of fun. I have watched some of the clips back, and it's so funny to see myself sped up. Like, there's a couple times that I laughed at something that was going on, and it's so funny to see it sped up. So anyway, thanks so much for coming along. I hope that you are enjoying spooky season, and happy reading. We'll see you next time.